Hi there. Thank you for joining me. A couple of people have asked how I did the 3-flap cover for the candy journal. And I'm making a unicorn journal and it's exactly the same. And I tried to show you what was going on here, but I couldn't because to cover it I used the first time I covered it, I used printed copy paper, and it wasn't strong enough. So now we know you can't use printed copy paper. Okay, you need like a lightweight cardstock minimum, or like I think this is Bo Bunny. You know the scrapbook paper that's a nicer weight, not like Colorblock, okay? You have to use a nice weight scrapbook paper, nice weight cardstock for this to work. Alrighty? So, first, you can use anything as your base. In the candy journal, I used this heavyweight file folder, this red board or whatever it's called. You can buy tag board. This comes with a couple of, these are thinner than the back of a notebook, but they'll be fine. Or you can use a heavy duty file folder. You can use the back of a notebook. You can use, whatever you've got. Packaging, save your cereal boxes and stuff. For this one, for the thickness of this, and you can see it's pretty thick, I used just the back of a notebook. And I believe this is, I'm just making a little example. I'm uncertain what this is. I don't think it's the middle of that because it feels tougher. Yeah, it's not the middle of that. This is just thin, something. So you need to keep a couple of things in mind when you do your layout. On the candy journal, I made both. Okay, so let me get a pointer. Where'd it go? Okay. This is the back. This is the middle. And this is the front. Okay? And you can see here on the right, I made this middle shorter. I didn't think it through well enough on the candy journal. I made that one and the front shorter. Now I realize I don't need to. Only the middle flap, the one that will be in the middle, needs to be shorter so you don't run into any interference over here, okay? It doesn't have to be that much of a gap. Just let's say your journal's 5 by 8. Then I would make the cover pieces, each cover piece 5.5 by 8.5, right? Then one of them I would just shave down a millimeter. I don't know if you're familiar with millimeters. Just shave down a bit, and not 1/8 of an inch or less. All right? Okay? So you want your cover size times 3, and one of the flaps shaved down to allow for clearance. On this side, I did a 1/2 inch spine, and on this side, I did a 1 inch spine. Okay? Then you're going to have, you have to wait to find your finished thickness because you are going to add space in between each one. And I'm not perfect enough to measure ahead. I'm just not. So for the inside cover, to cover the inside of the cover, this is going to be the back. But to cover the inside of the cover, you need to wait to measure it, okay? And what we're going to do, let me go back to my layout. So I'm just working with 12-inch width of paper. You can piece it together if you want, and I'll show you what I did to fix that. So I gave myself a 1/2-inch spine. The left piece on this one, because of the design of the paper, it's okay. It doesn't matter if your shy one is left or right, but your shy one is going to be your middle flap, okay? So you've got some to fold over, one of your pieces, a 1/2-inch spine. Your 1/2-inch spine goes by your flap that will be the middle. You've got a full cover size, a 1-inch spine, a full cover size. Then you've got two, okay, so we've got two things to go by. So if I say middle, you need to understand what I'm saying. We've got our flaps. This will be the middle flap, this will be the back flap, and this will be the front flap. All right, and it's going to be exactly like this: middle, back, front. Okay, so we've got flaps and we've got layout. So here I've got our middle flap is going to be our left layout. I'm calling this layout. All right, then we've got our 1/2-inch spine is always by your shy one. Then we've got our back flap, which is the middle layout. So see, this is going to be the middle flap, but this is middle in our layout. So I just didn't want to confuse you. I realized this, I've made this video a couple times and messed it up. So I realized that I was saying middle and I didn't want to confuse y'all. So this is your left flap and left layout. This is the back flap, middle layout. Then you've got your 1-inch spine. And again, these spines depend on the thickness of your journal. They can be more or less that. Okay? And always, I like to do the cover last, because I've made a cover before and it wasn't big enough, and I just had it was dumb. So you always make the cover after you're done with your, for me, I always make the cover after I'm done with the signatures, so I don't run into thickness problems. Okay, and you can be generous. Like this one, I knew I just made one, so I knew 1/2-inch and 1-inch would be fine. And I've added a lot of elements and stuff to this. I'm not completely done, but I've added a lot of pockets and stuff, so I know, you know, it's filling up. All right. And I've made these covers a couple of times. I made one here last night, just showing you an example, but this example didn't work, and I will show you why next. Okay, so just pay attention, or try to understand that I'm doing, you know, middle might be layout or flap. All right, and this is real easy. I've spent more time than it takes to do it. So I'm going to move that up. And I used Mod Podge. And Mod Podge works fine. And when I do Mod Podge, I like to, where'd it go? I had one laid out. Yes. I like to use, I have 2 packs of these. I think they came from Dollar Tree. But I like to use the spatula. I just think it's less mess than a brush. Now I don't have a brush to clean. Okay? And you can use whatever you want. I've got rubber spatulas from the kitchen. You know, it doesn't matter. You use whatever you want. Okay? Let me set this aside. And we can still see it. I'll just leave it up there. So we want to give ourselves some to fold over. All right? 1/2-inch-ish. We want to center it top and bottom. Okay? We want to, Okay, you want to smush it down. Okay. Now our 1/2 inch, oops, I'm going to show you how to place this. I'm just gluing on this other table so I don't mess this up. Okay. Now you're going to make, you want a nice spine, and you want this corner, this space that we're making in between these pieces is going to make our bend. Okay? Oops, messed that up. Got glue on it just now. And you want this to bend generously. You don't want to, you want it to bend generously, is the only way I can say that. You don't want a crowded bend, okay? So pick something that is thicker than your base board, whatever you call it, all right? Your backing board, your strength board, whatever you want to call it. This is a piece of a book cover, hardbound book cover, and you can see it's thicker. It's a lot thicker than these, and that's fine to have that much difference. Okay, that's fine. And then for those of you that are more comfortable measuring, that don't just like to eyeball stuff, okay? And that wasn't straight. Okay, there. Alrighty. Let me Mod Podge another one. And like I said, I've used heavier weight paper, and yesterday it was a mess with the letter weight paper, just the copy paper. Copy weight, that was a mess. Don't do that. But we're Mod Podging, and I thought it'd be okay, and it wasn't. It was not okay. It was not okay. Because the paper tore, when I went to bend it before it was dry, the space was tearing. Okay. I don't know why that one, I think it's curling. So I'm going to have to eyeball that one. Okay. And that's a little more there, that's okay. You'd rather have too much space than not enough on this, okay? You wouldn't want much more than that though. Let me Mod Podge this one. I have used Mod Podge more lately than glue for stuff like this, for covers. For this journal, to attach this cork material to file folder, I used Mod Podge. I like it. So for some of my construction pieces lately, I've been using Mod Podge, and I like it. Of course, if you want to use glue, that's fine too. You use whatever you want. Okay. Now let's see if we're straight along here. That needs to go up. Okay. So we get one more. I tried to get as much of this ahead of time. Like I said, I've made this video a couple times, and I just keep messing up. It's okay. Or like the paper was tearing and that was done, or like, you know, just whatever. One last night I made, and it was like 30 minutes. It was too long. I'm going to try to keep this one shorter. And it was taking 2 hours to upload. I'm like, what is going on? So I finally just quit it. I'm going to try not to lean in and get my gray roots, my gray hair in the camera every time. bending over to do something in another video. I was like, why don't y'all get a real good look at my gray hair here? It was great. It was cute. Okay, and I can see that needs to go up. Okay, and this is just a sample. It doesn't matter. I don't know. I might make something out of it someday. Alrighty. So there we go. Now, a trick. Where'd my pointer go? You can let this dry. Okay, if it might be better to let it dry if you're not comfortable working it in this condition. Okay, but a trick for scoring it or for folding it over is just use your baseboard should be thick enough, and your cover paper should be strong enough to just score right along it. Okay? And then this will help fold it over. I always like my little score tool, but the other one you get from the Dollar Tree, but I don't know if it will do this well. So just to be cautious, I'm using the bigger one. Okay, now, if you watch nothing else, I hope you've made it this far. My average view duration is about 3 minutes on a video. So, we need to miter these corners, but we want to finish this in a way that will not show cardboard. We do not want raw cardboard showing, or we're going to have to add lace all over it or something, okay? So you need to allow for the thickness of this board, for this paper to wrap up around when you trim it. Whenever you trim it, you cannot trim all the way to the edge, because if you trim right up to that corner, then there won't be any extra for the thickness of the board when you wrap it around, and you will be looking at cardboard. Alright? And trust me on this. And I will show you. And you don't want to miter these corners too much. You just want to barely shave it down to save bulk, because you do not want this. You want to trim enough away to save bulk, but you need to leave enough to cover the cardboard. Okay? And these are my best scissors for cutting points. So that's why I like these scissors. Okay? And then I'm just going to slice that right there. So you can see the white area that I left on the outside, and that corner's not glued down, but it's not going anywhere. It'll be fine when we wrap it. So do you see how much white paper I left on this corner? We might have to trim it away. You'll get better at it as you go. But it's better to leave a little bit than cut it too shy, or you will be looking at cardboard. Okay? Let me do these others real quick. And when you all said tutorial, I assume you meant the cover. If there's something else you need to know, let me know. But the joining signatures and spraying paper and, you know, all that. I sprayed all the pages and I watercolored on. No, I didn't do that one. I did a lot of PowerPoint and that one. I don't know how to teach PowerPoint. I don't even have PowerPoint now in this computer. I've been using Libra and Google Slides, and I like them both. but my printer driver died, and I keep reinstalling it and it won't. So I've been using Google Slides because I can print from my phone. Alright. I personally prefer the outside pieces to be last. Okay? So we've got this scored. Now, we're going to have to trim, and that's what we're going to have to, you know, fuss it up a little bit, and that's quite alright. That's part of it. I always leave extra because I do not want to, well, heck, where is it here? I scored that in my score tool. Where's my other scissors? Here. My score tool scores a little too, or I push too hard, I don't know. Sometimes it cuts the paper. I scored that and thought it'd be fine, but it tore it. And I'm going to show a few things. Okay. And this should lay nice and flat since we scored it. That will help. Okay? And then I will show you the corners. This one we goofed. And this one we've got too much. So this one is not perfect enough, but I'm going to fix it. Okay. So this one, let's see, I like the outside. We've got more than we need. Alright? I went a little overboard to make my point. Remember I said these scissors are, whatever scissors are your best point is what you want. Okay? Now, if you've got any kind of paper, you're going to have that. And I will show you how to. You're just going to trim away just the bare, what you need. And this, I am going to actually shave this down just a hair. You can't even tell. But I barely shaved that down, and that should give us enough to cover that. Yeah. And now we're going to touch that up, because sometimes paper leaves you with a bit of an edge, and sometimes it doesn't. Like here. See, we've got a little bit to trim off, just barely. And that could use just barely. Do you hear my dog barking? The kids are grocery shopping, and they're going to be home soon, and she will bark like she barks at whoever's coming and going. Whoever's coming and going are in big trouble. I'm just going to include this so I can get to the rest of it. And sometimes just spread the glue out just so it helps the cause. I know I said I do it on my, you know, with a glue stick, but on this one I can't. Really, I guess I could, but I'm not. So I'm just spreading it out. See there? How nice and easy that is. I use these spatulas all the time. Takes a minute to grab. I don't know why. I guess it's the cardboard. And I will show you how to touch that. You can use ink to touch it up, whatever you want. Okay. Sometimes it doesn't work, it doesn't grab well the first time, so you just keep going. Some people were using tape on this. I suppose you could, but I have better success with glue in Mod Podge. I prefer it. Okay. And if you get this finished well enough, then you can simply cover these sheets with a piece of paper that is just a bit smaller, like this. Okay, just a bit smaller. That's our goal, is to do these corners neat enough that we can just cover it, and that this hides that this cleans up the corners and the edge well enough that we will be able to just put paper on this. Now, I don't know how. I have tried. Every one I've done has been an epic fail in this regard. I don't know how they do it. You will see, and you want to let this dry. Okay? And you can give it a fold, but you want to let it dry. And what we're going to do is we are going to snip. And again, you leave yourself, you do not want to cover up your edge. Okay? And I'll just take a wedge out there. And you will see why in a second. You want to clear out your excess from this spine piece, because it is going to buckle on you. It buckles on me no matter what I do. So just clear it out a little bit. To me, this is important. And I'm sorry if you're still watching and I'm not getting to the point good enough, but these take a bit of time, and to do them right, okay. See, that's pretty good. And that's going to go to the middle, right? So that's what it's like. Okay? And you see why we cut the middle one just a little bit shorter, so we don't run interference. Now, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how it doesn't buckle on them. Every one I do, no matter how hard I press this down, you can see that is pressed down perfectly. And I press this down, you can see that is worked into that seam, right? But they always, always, always buckle when I fold them. It's just part of it. That's how they are. And I hate it. So what I'm doing, okay, this is our 3 inside left, our 1/2 inch, our 3 inside back, and our 3 inside right. So I am going to put these down first, and I will show you why. And I'm going to do Mod Podge because it's a solid layer. It's a nice solid layer. And you can hurry up and wipe your mess up, or just get it thin. But the cardboard is thirsty, so you need to be generous with your glue, more generous than you would think, because the cardboard is thirsty. Okay? I don't know how else to say it. So we are going to piece this on. I don't even know if this has an upside or a downside. I'm going to wipe off my excess Mod Podge. Now there were some people that didn't like pieced together seams, but I don't like wrinkles, so I don't know. I guess, you know, everything's trade-off. So we're going to push this down in there. And what we're doing is this edge we're scooting it in, and this edge we're scooting it in, so it won't buckle on us. We want it all the way down in that seam. And I've tried doing this and just gluing one section at a time, but that sucker buckles every time. It does. It just does. So do you see how we've scored it down in there really well? Okay? And then when we fold it, this is my trial and error. And it's going to be pieced together, but you won't really see it because we're going to finish it in a minute. Okay? You won't see it. But do you see how that is nice and flat? Every bit of that's flat. And we're going to leave it alone and let it dry. You can let it dry like that if you want. Okay? Now we're going to do the same thing here. Okay? And then I'm not going to do it all on camera just to save you all the trouble. And then this is going to be pieced over just the flap. Okay, I'll show you what we're going to do. And this is going to be pieced over just the flap, and we're going to stay away from the bend. And then that is going to look like that. Doesn't that look nice? And then on this side, 3-inch inside left front is going to come right up to that. It's going to come right up to that. We can even zhuzh it all the way down, all right? And it's going to look like that. And there's nothing to buckle because you did it in 2 pieces, and it still looks plenty neat. You see what I'm saying? Otherwise, I'm telling you, the candy one was buckled. All the heck, they buckle. No matter what you do, I can't get it not to. Do you see that? Isn't that ugly? Okay. And there, buckled. They just do. And this is how I have come up with it to not buckle. So we're going to piece those. And I don't know how they do it. Go ask the others how. I've seen 2 videos on this recently. And I don't know how they get that not to buckle when it bends. But that's just how paper is. You have to push it down. And if I had a do-over, I would have put a bead of glue in this seam. And that's coming up, and that's okay. Because we don't care about this flap now. We can lay that down and cover it up. We want this spine piece to be fully adhered and fully pressed in to that separation. And then that will, look, you can see that is adhered, and it is not lifting, it's not buckling, and it will look perfect, I promise. And then that'll be the middle. And now, I don't know how to get around this. I really don't. But, like here and here. To me, even though it's pieced together, you'll have to do this with a little bit of style. but I think that looks better than a buckle. And now they will be flatly adhered too. You won't see that shadow because, you know, it's not adhered right now. Okay, I think that looks better than a buckle, even though it's pieced together. So that's the way I do it. And I'm not going to finish it. I'm going to show you one more trick. Now these corner pieces, see that white? Just because the base of the paper is white. So you're going to have, it's hard to get around it. And it might not happen when you first do it, but handling it and sticking it on a shelf and stuff, it's going to rub right there. Unless you put a dot, sometimes on sewing and stuff, I put a drop of glue on it just to seal it. Like this, I put a drop of glue on that edge just so that doesn't come frayed, right? But you can ink this. And I have all these brushes, you know, or the dauber ones or whatever. But ink, you can see it. And you might like it. But I have found that colored pencil is more subtle. And I can't get over that. But I have found that colored pencil is a bit more subtle. And even this white here, you can cover that up too. See, that looked like that. Do you see the, let's see, can you see the difference? Okay, that one that I touched up with orange and that one that's white. Let me touch the other one up. But colored pencil is more subtle. And I've got to touch up that corner. And these are 2mm pencils I got from the Dollar Tree. So it's even. And see that one? Marker might be a little harsh. Ink, you might be able to see that. But colored pencils. And this is even a cheap waxy one from the Dollar Tree, which is even better, so it won't lay down as much ink or lead or color. Okay? So I like how that finishes that. So that's how I make them perfect. And like this, I might even do it. Sometimes the colored pencil doesn't want to color over glue. So you can even go around these, like this top edge here is, you can even go over this before you glue it. Okay, so you can see a difference between that top edge and that top edge. Those are just little polish tools, tricks that you can do, okay? And then, like I said, you just piece them all together, Mod Podge them, make sure you can let this dry before you go bending on it. Let these pieces dry really well and make sure that is adhered really well in there. And like I said, if I had a do-over, I would have put a bead of glue down there too. And you can get away with using just scrapbook paper on this and the back of notebooks. Even your Mod Podge is going to give you another layer of strength. Okay? And then that's it. That's all there is to it. And then this is a finished one. Okay? So let me know if you have any more questions. And I really like this. I've used it for, I made little like YouTube here, like an address book, and I did it with this. I made my sister a big one. You know, and that's all same thing. See, that's not adhered well enough. So this is why I'm piecing the back together instead, because it's just not polished enough for me. It doesn't look perfect enough. Alrighty? But I've used this a lot and I really like it. And I'm getting better at it. So I've shown you all my tricks. Whenever you cut your corners, make sure you leave enough to wrap around so you don't see cardboard. Do that spine and break it down in pieces so it won't buckle. Every one I have has buckled. All of them have. I don't know how to get around it. And colored pencil is a more subtle, neater option to clean up your white edges of paper on your corners and your paper edges. And like I said, this colored pencil doesn't like glue. So I would do this before I glued it down. Okay? So that's all. Thanks so much for watching. Love you. Bye.